I consider homophobia and coon culture to be a two-front attack on black identity, right? So, black homophobia and coon culture are not necessarily separate, right? They're both rooted in the same anti-black style system. So they're here to control black people, to keep us divided, and to make us police ourselves harder than white supremacy ever could. So, black homophobia is not traditional, right? It was taught. It doesn't protect masculinity. It was designed to weaponize it, and it doesn't preserve family values. It was used to justify breaking up black families. And here's the craziest thing is that white supremacy profits off of it directly, right? Enslavers use homophobia to justify seeing black men as only breeders, right? And as black women as only birth givers. The black church was weaponized to teach us that being queer was more of a sin than being an oppressor, right? And the white gaze made black masculinity so fragile that anything outside of hypermasculinity became a threat. But here's how it turns out, though. Black men feel like they have to be aggressively straight to prove they're real men. And y'all see this all day. All day. I be having to tell my homeboys, you do not have to convince women you're straight. Ever. Right? And black women feel like they have to be hyper feminine and submissive to be real women. Right? Now, black queer are exiled, erased, or used as entertainment, but never fully accepted. But who benefits from this? Not us, right? Now, you got to keep focused with this result section. This is about about homophobia and coon culture. This is about how coons talk to us. We hear these voices. And a coon isn't just a sellout, right? A coon is a tool of white supremacy. So a coon culture is when black people internalize anti-blackness and enforce it on each other. That's how I see it, at least. So when a black person goes out of their way to protect white supremacy while attacking their own, you're a coon. So telling a black person just to work harder instead of addressing systemic racism, a coon. Denying racism exists unless a white person agrees with them, still a coon. Siding with the police against their own community, still a coon. Criticizing black culture but never criticizing white violence, still a coon. Matter of fact, and those people who say it's okay when white people use our hairstyles and we're all like, it's just all good, coon culture. But here's the connection. Coon culture thrives on homophobia because a black person who's free in their gender and sexuality is a black person who can't be controlled, right? Because they're not subject to any of the systems. A black man who doesn't need white validation to prove his masculinity is a threat inherently, right? And a black woman who refuses to shrink herself for male approval is a threat, right? A black queer person in this context is the most unapologetic versions of a black person, right? Especially in this system. That's why coons and white supremacy attack them the hardest. Homophobia in black spaces is just another form of cooning, because policing blackness on the behalf of white supremacy is insane. So here's the solution, right? We just need to stop letting white supremacy control how we see each other, right? Black love includes all black people. Black masculinity doesn't need to be violent to be valid. And black queerness is not a threat to black unity, right? White supremacy is a threat. But all that other stuff is nonsense, right? The power move is destroying the coon culture, right? By destroying the homophobia in our communities. Because a free black person is the biggest threat to a racist system. A free black person. Okay, not just you get it.